Okay, ladies and gentlemen, whilst you enjoy your tea and coffee and your cupcakes and all those lovely little non-fattening treats, we have got the final awards of the afternoon. And this time it's for public sector frontline staff. Spare a thought for our final nominees because they've had to stay sober for the last 4 hours whilst everyone around them has been guzzling the Prosecco. So first of all, would you please give a nice round of applause for our first nominee, public sector frontline staff, Jill Clark, who is a nurse. And I should address you properly, Jill. Jill Clark, OBE, and it's an OBE that is thoroughly deserved because you've just done the most astonishing things. Let me just say that you're the lead nurse for gynecological services at Stockport NHS Foundation Trust. Now, back in 1988, what sort of services were open to women there?
Not a lot of services. We didn't have any innovative ideas at that time, so there were no clinics that were available for staff. For patients to come early in the morning or after in the evenings, and especially for working mums. So I started to do clinics that we could start in the morning and have later clinics in the afternoon so they could come after work and we could have childcare.
How much of a difference did that make?
Made a lot of difference. It reduced waiting time, it reduced DNAs, and it encouraged women because what the speciality that I'm in, I'm a nurse colposcopist, and for those who don't know what a nurse colposcopist is that I look at women who have abnormal smears. I do biopsies if I see an abnormality, and I do minor surgery also.
Did that inspire you at that point, just how successful that particular development was?
I was inspired when I actually went to a course with a consultant and saw the very first nurse colposcopist, and at that time it was very male driven. Most of the consultants were male and there were no females, so the patients didn't have a choice. So that inspired me to do something for women in my health service and around.
How much help did you get at that time? Did you feel it was almost a one-woman crusade?
It was a challenge, and of course there were some opposition because, of course, as a nurse I was going to do the same course as the consultants and there were not many nurses, but I did have a lot of support from my trust and my division.
You were recognised in 2014, thus the OBE. How did that make you feel?
I can't tell you, I feel very humbled by it. I can't even imagine who nominated me at the time. When I actually got the letter, and it was from Parliament, I thought they were going to throw me out the country or something like that. So I said to my husband, Paul, I'm going to rip this up. And he says, don't rip it up, open it. And when I opened it and it said OBE, I thought, somebody's playing a joke. So he says, well, sign that, you'll attend, because in the letter it said from Parliament, do not tell anyone. So I thought somebody was making it up. Anyway, and I signed it, and then, yes, I did go and meet the Queen.
So has this whole journey, has it been a personal sense of achievement, or actually do you think about all of those women that you've helped?
Oh, it's a personal achievement. For me, it's the empathy, providing privacy and dignity, providing clinics that are available for women that are working. I have an open door policy. They can ring me first thing in the morning, the GPs can speak to me, and I have an open policy for my staff. We mustn't forget the staff. I have a fantastic unit. I have great managers and a great team that support me as well. So it's not just me on my own. The only thing is that I lead it and hope I inspire my other nurses to go into careers like myself, to progress, to do things like hysteroscopy, looking inside a lady's womb, to do endoscopy. Other nurses are doing other practitioner roles.
And have you seen that sort of influence on some of your staff? Do you think the next generation are there ready to inspire and transform the way you have?
I've already started. I have a nurse who's already learned to do hysteroscopy. I've got another nurse who's going to learn to do colposcopy. I also do nurse-led urodynamics. Urodynamics, it's for ladies who might have leakage or prolapse. And we do a diagnostic test, which we're always done by a consultant, so I do that also. And I have a nurse doing that.
Incredible. And just tell me, because I know you mentioned this to me upstairs, how many years have you been a nurse?
39 years.
Yeah, exactly. Astonishing. Ladies and gentlemen, Jill Clark. Let's introduce you now to our second nominee in the public sector frontline staff. This is Alison McKee. Alison is a detective sergeant at GMP. Alison McKee, ladies and gentlemen. Alison, let's start with, it's a very tough profession, isn't it, in the police? What inspired you to want to join the police?
I joined the police 27 years ago and primarily wanted to help people. And when I joined, there were very few females in the police service. Happy to say that that's changed now. We've progressed and we've got more female supervision, more female ranks of a higher rank. So I wanted to join to help people and serve the community, basically.
And as you've served, is there one particular section of the society that you wanted to help, that you maybe felt that you could bring something to?
Yes, well, I was progressing through doing uniform and went into becoming a detective. I enjoyed dealing with victims of domestic abuse and doing child protection, and that is the way my career has progressed, and I've stayed in that field for a number of years now.
And I can imagine, especially in those two areas, you've seen huge advances in the way that police deal with both of those over the years.
Absolutely. We have specialist units now to deal with a multitude of protecting vulnerable people within our society now. We have the emergence of child sexual exploitation, human trafficking, child protection and domestic abuse issues, and they're all coming to the forefront now of our safeguarding for the community.
And I'll just read a quote, because it said that you've become known as the most knowledgeable child protection officer in Greater Manchester Police. What do you think that you've brought to that particular role that's enabled you to be described in that way?
Well, I haven't moved from unit to unit, job to job. I've stayed within that field. So over the years, my knowledge has sort of progressed. I don't know whether that's quite true, to be honest, but yes, I've enjoyed my time in child protection, and I enjoy sort of progressing others as well within the unit that I work in.
And more than that, I'm reading that you're a particularly good team leader. What's this about Christmas dinners?
Yeah. Who have you been talking to?
You'd be surprised. I've got people on the inside.
You certainly have. Join the unit with that detective work. Yes. Every Christmas we put on a buffet. The supervision in the unit put on a buffet, and for the staff in the unit, because it is a teamwork that we enjoy doing the work that we do. It's all about teamwork. So it's a thank you from ourselves, the supervisors in our unit, to say thank you to the staff, and we have a buffet, and yes, we enjoy it, but no alcohol.
And in terms of recognition for you, is it just the fact that people presumably acknowledge the work that you do and how it's helped them that has, sort of inspired you through the years?
Yes, I was very touched and sort of humbled really when I got the letter through from Jacqueline to say I'd been nominated, and it's nice to be recognised in relation for the work that you do. So I was very pleased and thrilled that I was nominated. Excellent day.
Excellent. Glad you enjoyed it. Alison McKee, ladies and gentlemen. And finally, a trio to complete our nominees in this section. Let me introduce you to Myra Ball, Estelle Matheson and Jennifer Bird, who are police officers. I'm just going to give you a bit of background to why we're going to speak to these three. In 2014, following a Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary inspection into domestic abuse in Greater Manchester, it was determined that Greater Manchester Police urgently needed a force-level action plan, of which one aspect was revising the training for all frontline and neighbourhood staff. Now, as a result, and unprompted, GMP employees who'd been previous victims of domestic abuse came forward wanting to share their stories. And this is where Myra, Estelle and Jennifer can tell us more. Why did you first decide to come forward?
When there was a change in policy, I suppose I recognised that from my own personal experiences and with the job that I do, and the position that I'm currently in, I could really influence our staff to improve the way that they responded to the public, but also to challenge some of the misconceptions that they held about victims of domestic abuse.
I mean, obviously, extraordinarily brave to stand up anyway, but in front of colleagues, how did you find that process?
To me, it was very, very, very nerve-wracking, to the point where I'm quite okay with public speaking, but I came out in quite a large rash all across my chest, and at one point I walked in and there's quite a lot of colleagues that you know that obviously maybe don't realise that you have actually ever been a victim of domestic abuse before, so it was I used to go home at night and you never used to feel good about what you've just done because you'd be reliving the memories over and over again. But I'd just like to point out that I know that collectively we don't really see ourselves as victims. We see ourselves as hopefully trying to inspire other women to come forward about domestic abuse and realise that there is a life after domestic abuse. You can get out and you can get help. So I think really that's what it's about for us.
What sort of reaction did you get from your colleagues?
We had a really brilliant reaction. We had people on the day who would come up, and there was even, we know that the majority of domestic abuse involves men as perpetrators and women as victims, but men in our audiences, particularly to me, one man come up and actually said, I now know what I need to do. So although we're here now for an Inspiring Women's event, we also as women inspired some men to come forward. It's about those hidden voices in our communities. We've heard some great things, what's happening in communities today, but often the likes of honour-based violence, domestic abuse, child sexual exploitation, it's hidden. And we felt as if we were the voices really. At a strategic level, we could give the voices of those victims to the policies and the decisions that GMP were making last year.
What do you think has changed? What's through this initiative do you feel has changed within GMP?
I mean, certainly some of the things that I wanted to change was the perception that you go to victims and it's the first time. We used to see quite a lot, it's one incident, it's verbal only, and certainly for me, the first time that I rang the police, it certainly wasn't the first incident and it certainly wasn't verbal only. Not only that, I think officers needed to realise that when they go to incident after incident after incident and they get fed up of going to the same address, that they need to offer the same support at this time, the last time as they do at the first time, because one day will be that day that that person wants to leave, and that's when you need to be there with that support, be that the first time or the 30th time that you go.
I think what struck me about your story was that the three of you came forward. How much of a help was that, the fact that you'd got two colleagues alongside you?
To be honest, we didn't really know about each other until sort of more towards the end of the event, I'd say, and then we all started emailing each other, and since then I think we've become quite friendly with each other. It's been really nice, and I went to Myra's house for tea the other week, so yeah. So yeah, it's been lovely. It's been nice to know that there are other people out there, and especially you see yourself as, well, police officers don't suffer from domestic abuse. You're a police officer, why would you suffer from this? And I think it's nice to know that there is other people out there and you can share your stories with.
Yeah, and how do you feel about being nominated today?
Oh, I mean, being a good Scouser who works in Manchester, lives in Cheshire, it's absolutely mad. We were nominated, and the three of us, since the day, even we just got an email, we've been absolutely buzzing. It's brilliant that we've been able to actually come forward. Never in the month of Sundays did me, as a detective inspector, think that I would be here when I was living them situations back then, actually thinking that I would inspire pretty much the whole of the force to step up to the plate, improve the standards and actually give a positive, more better service to the people who are suffering from domestic abuse.
Good words. Myra, Jennifer and Estelle, ladies and gentlemen.